guys, welcome to week 19. Our question today is, how did the medieval university emerge as a powerful force in society? Although we are quite familiar with the university systems of the modern world, it is often hard for us to imagine just how drastically the emergence of the medieval university, how drastically it changed the world. The medieval university emerged from religious educational institutions and developed powerfully due to its secular ability to unite a highly divided culture. So the three ways that medieval university emerged and how it affected culture was: first, it emerged from a wide variety of sources to become a central institution in medieval Europe. Second, it established a uniform system of academic credentials, and third, it spread due to the enormous economic and political development it created. So, our first point is that medieval university emerged from a wide variety of sources to become a central institution in Europe. So let's talk a little bit about what educational systems there were before the medieval university emerged and how they influenced the medieval university. So we have these ancient Greco-Roman educational systems. We have trade guilds and apprenticeships. I can never say that word. We have monastic tutorials and cathedral schools, and we have courtly schools. So all of these educational systems influenced and were the roots of the medieval university. So let's talk about trade guilds and apprenticeships. So in the medieval system of guilds, there was a three-phase process in which you would become a master of a certain trade. First you were an apprentice, then you were a journeyman, and then you were finally a master. And a similar thing emerged in the medieval university. First you would be a bachelor, then you would be a master, and then you would be a doctor. So this was one of the roots of medieval university. And then secondly, we can look at the trivium, which is kind of what greenhouse is. It's this Greco-Roman educational institution. It's a classical tradition that has grammar, rhetoric, and logic, and it kind of all builds on each other for one's education. And the medieval university built on this even more by focusing and honing in on specialization, and this is what the university did well. The trivium and the quadrivium began to develop, and specializations appeared. Yeah, that's the right word. So an example of this is the School of Reims. Oh gosh, I'm saying that wrong. Anyway, at that school that starts with an R, teachers expanded the mathematical aspects of the quadrivium by introducing Arabic numbers. So this was basically a school of numbers. And other schools began to develop, like the School of Notre Dame, and this was the greatest medieval university, the School of Notre Dame. So Lynn Harry Manson says, students at university are part of a tradition. Consider the words used. So all these words he's saying the words campus, tuition, classes, examinations, convocation, alumni, deans. Quote, these are the language of the university. They are all derived from Latin, almost unchanged from its origins, end quote. So Harry Nelson is showing kind of the roots of the medieval university system and how it's still affected today's educational system. And the last thing that I want to talk about in this first argument is the Carolingian educational reform and their effects on the medieval university. So if we can remember back to last semester when we talked about the great leader Charlemagne, he had this idea that knowledge was key to the running of a good empire. So he thought if you have knowledgeable leaders, if you have knowledgeable leaders, you will have a solid empire. So he wanted to make education really accessible to people. So he tried to set up free education for the boys of his empire in the monasteries and cathedrals. So this laid the foundation. So from all these things that we talked about, all these different examples, we can see the first point, which is that the medieval university emerged from a wide variety of sources and became a central institution in medieval Europe. And our second point is that medieval university established a uniform system of academic credentials which allowed for a pan-European intellectual culture. So, as we talked about last time a little bit, educational specialization drew students from across the continent to study together. And this created unity. So everyone would come to university, and since everybody spoke different dialects of language, everyone had to speak Latin. So there was this unity in this really highly divided continent of people coming together and learning in a shared language and getting this experience, this collegiate experience together. Harold Berman says, the establishment of a uniform class of university educated scholars helped European leaders to solve disputes that existed between various jurisdictions. So he's saying that university students helped unite culture, basically. So thank you, Harold Berman, for that. So there was a lot of information in this point about the system of academic credentials and how the university was set up, and there was a lot of information on this, but if I went into this all the information, it would be a 20-minute video instead of a 16-minute video. So I'm gonna save some time and just briefly summarize kind of the ways that the academic credentials were different than they are today, if that makes any sense. So unlike today, where a college student decides a major and has to take classes to finish that major and to get the requirements done, the university in medieval times was a lot different. Students would be able to pick their professors, pick the classes they wanted to take, or more the lectures they wanted to attend, and they the point of their college was to take tests, so they could pick any professor to help them study for the tests. That's an oversimplified way to say it, but basically these professors prepared them for the tests, and they would have, not like us today where we have exams every semester. At the end of their 4 years, they would have a very big, scary examination. First they'd have a preliminary tests, and then they would have a what's it called? I don't have it written here. Oh no, that's bad. Disposition, I think. Oh, determination. Duh. Disposition. They would have a determination, and if they passed this determination and all their preliminary exams, they would go on to get their master's degree. So, yeah, that's kind of the medieval educational university system. But what's interesting about this is I can't find any of my information on it. Basically, to my second point, medieval university established a uniform system of academic credentials, which allowed for a pan-European intellectual culture. And then my third point is that the medieval university spread to the enormous economic and political developments it created. So medieval university increased human capital, and it encouraged formation of social networks, which helps with the economic and political development. So Robert Lopez says that during the medieval warm period, agricultural production improved. When food surplus increased, it became more possible to release more people for governmental, religious, and cultural pursuits. So people could focus more on getting an education rather than just survival, and universities became a thing. So yeah, Europe's first universities. The first university was in Bologna, Italia, and I actually went to Bologna and spent a few days there. Fun fact. So it's a pretty cool city. A lot of Porticos. Has the longest Portico of the world. Look it up. I ran that whole Portico twice. But that's completely beside the point. But no, kind of has to do with it. Anyway, people would dare each other at the university to walk up that Portico, but that's completely irrelevant to this. I'm sorry. I'm not going to cut that out. Then I have to edit all this. Anyway, University of Bologna was the first university, and students at that university trained in law, and they studied the Justinian Code of Law, and rediscovered it and studied it. So, yeah. Social networks formed. So these new Latin-speaking university grads made up a new class of educated individuals that had this shared experience of college together. And as we talked about in our first point about Charlemagne and his educational reforms, Charlemagne knew that good political leaders and a good empire was founded on education. And so the medieval universities gave people education. They created these knowledgeable leaders that boosted the economic and political medieval I can't think of words. I'm sorry. It basically was really good for the economic and political state of medieval Europe. So, yeah. That is how medieval university emerged as a powerful force in society. They emerged from a variety of sources to become a central institution They established a uniform system of academic credentials, which allowed for a pan-European intellectual culture, and they thirdly spread due to enormous economic and political developments that they created. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a truly terrific week. Cheers.